What's up, Purple People podcast fans? Welcome to episode number 297. We hope you're having a great night. It's going to be a slow week, but I'm pretty excited about this show because I'm joined forever and always by Kyle West.
He's there, I promise you.
And that's
your audio cut out. I didn't know that you introduced me first.
All right, that is okay.
What a great way to start the show.
I assure you, we're open.
Come on in. We are open at the Purple People podcast.
I'm here too, by the way.
Fresh
I know I'm talking without being introduced, but that's the way I roll.
No.
You do what you want.
No.
You survived the TSA.
I didn't hear you from Kyle, so I said, and that's Adam Carlson. So we're just starting the show off stunningly right now.
We're doing great.
So Adam's fresh off the plane, probably from an hour or two ago, if that, from traveling?
Yeah. I didn't have a great night of sleep in my hotel in Chicago. My first time flying, so airports were new to me and very interesting. So, I'm here. I'm a little sleepy and a little groggy, and I don't know a lot of the Vikings news, so I'm counting on my Kyles to get me caught up.
Well, it was kind of a slow week, Adam, so I think we can get you caught up and chat about the Vikings here.
Nice.
Yep, we're just a little over 2 weeks away from the draft. Not a lot's happened. We've said this plenty of times in the past. I just joked about it before we started. It should be a relatively short show for you guys joining in, but we'll see. Those usually turn into hour and 15-minute shows, so who knows? But
by about the 30-minute mark, we'll be like, and then Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, there will be a Chris Cook and Christian Ponder reference in there.
And a 20-minute rant about Joe Buck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
We'll jump into these quick hits. I didn't get the show title in. This is the Offseason Blues because that's what we have because it's really boring. And
it's not witty. It's not a fun title, but you know what? It works.
Yeah.
There wasn't really anything fun to name the episode after this week.
No.
Not a lot. And I'm actually going to tune in this week, and I'm going to look around at our rival Vikings podcast, which we all give a lot of respect and love to.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to see what they're talking about because I want to know if it's just us who can't find a lot of content because it's kind of slow. But
we are all fans of the Vikings in the long run anyway. I mean, whether you're listening to, so many of the Purple PSTPD or whatever it is, or they're really good. And, there are a whole bunch on the Purple podcast. ESPN 1500's got some cool shows. Even just regular fan shows out there. We're all just part of the big fan network of the Minnesota Vikings. So
For sure.
Anybody else that does this as well, we're big thumbs up to you.
Mm-hmm. My favorite comment in the chat so far was from Sergio. He goes, "Skull, no such thing as short show for the PPP." He knows what's up.
He's been here before.
You've been here before.
I already know. That's just a disclaimer. We usually just mess it all up. But we'll get into these quick hits. I want to talk to Adam and see how his time was. He went to Chicago for Walker Stalker, so we'll ask him about that later in the show.
Yeah.
Just some other stuff that I've been kind of stealing ideas from throughout listening to sports radio and looking at my favorite people online. We're seeing what's going on in our lives to kind of ease into the show because, we hit you with quick hits. We'll see if Adam, if they want to nix it, it's totally cool. I'm just naming this on the fly, but I thought this was really cool. I know Adam's going to talk about it later, so we'll try to see if we can't spruce the show up in other ways like we're always trying to do to improve.
You've just been watching way too much Katie Nolan. That's the problem.
I can't believe you mentioned her, man. I haven't thought about it all day today. Thank you. All right, so before we just ramble on and drive this off a cliff, let's start with some quick hits. Grady Alderman, former Vikings offensive tackle, passed away at the age of 79 on April 5th. He played in 3 Super Bowls and was a 6-time Pro Bowl selection. Member of the inaugural 1961 Minnesota Vikings roster and was also a certified public accountant. And here's a quote about Grady. "Grady was a valuable member of those teams that helped us rise from nothing to be a playoff team year in and year out," said Bud Grant. He also said he was a big part of that core players who made the Vikings in that era. He was a great leader, very respected, smart, played left tackle, which is a very valuable position on the field, and was very good at it. He was very, very intelligent, and it showed how he played.
If I remember right, he was part of the expansion draft, right? Like one of the initial Vikings.
It sounds like
the team.
Yes, correct, Adam.
It sounds like it.
Pretty amazing.
On April 5th, so he got to see a long life, which is great. Three Super Bowls. It said 6-time Pro Bowl selection. So he was solid. Absolutely a solid player.
Yeah, I was reading the article. He said that he was worried when they made the transition to Bud Grant that he might not make the roster because he was a little undersized for a left tackle. And he said that like Bud Grant gravitated towards him and that he was a just a staple, like a rock of the team. There was a funny quote where they said that he knew the first and last name of every official in the NFL and would call them during the game by their first and last name, and was just one of those players who played with so much respect for everyone around him. He sounded like just one of those great old-time players of the Minnesota Vikings that I kind of wish I would have known more about previously.
Yeah, Alderman was one of the just building posts that Norm Van Brocklin had when he was putting the Vikings together. And for that whole situation to come out as well as it did, and for the Vikings to be as talented as they were so quickly out of the gate is amazing.
He was on the 50 greatest Minnesota Vikings of all time list as well, too.
Yeah, 10th round draft pick in the 1960 NFL draft. And he was a pick of the Kansas City Chiefs, which is kind of interesting.
Let's give a shout out to Paul Gruber, who has a double hip replacement coming on tomorrow at 5 a.m. Good luck with that, my friend Brian. Just had his hip replaced, and after you get over the recovery period for it, he said he feels like 1,000% better. So best of luck with you, Paul, on that one.
Oh, this is an interesting fact. Before we switch quick hits, I decided to go on Wikipedia and look him up. He ended his pro career, Grady Alderman, with the Chicago Bears as a player than a coach. He's also noted for being the last of the original Vikings. From March 1981 until December 1982, he was the general manager of the Broncos.
Pretty cool.
So this guy just loved football, huh? That's incredible.
Like I said, a tough, gritty old player just from the old days of the NFL.
You don't stay on a team with Bud Grant unless you have passion, and Grady Alderman had that in just handfuls.
Condolences to his family, man. That's a great Viking, though. Just naming off all the hard-nosed stuff that he accomplished. So, and
not a name that gets mentioned enough when talking about the history of the Vikings. So it's nice to be able to talk about him, even though it's a bit, on a sadder note. But still, he definitely deserves the recognition.
Absolutely, it's a sad way, but a good remembrance to start the show off. This next quick hit's pretty interesting.
I love this one.
Dennis Ryan was named NFL Equipment Manager of the Year. Dennis was hired by the Vikings full-time in 1977.
Woo!
Bud Grant on Dennis Ryan says they need to build a statue for that man. That's incredible.
He's not wrong. Everything I've ever read about Dennis Ryan is that he is dedicated and everyone loves him. All the Vikings players, Harrison Smith talks about him and about how he knows the specifics for every player and what they like, and they has all their equipment ready for them. There's never any problems with anything.
So he's the guy to blame for Everson Griffin's name being spelt wrong on the back of his jersey?
That was not Dennis Ryan. I can guarantee you that. That was someone else, and I'm sure he chewed their butt out for that.
That's amazing. So, Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer and the linebacker coach Adam Zimmer. Oh, that's weird. It's like their father and son. Took a helicopter trip over Minneapolis with the United Heroes League last week. Wow, I didn't even read this bullet before I dove into it. This is awesome. United Heroes League actively works to ensure that children of military members are afforded every opportunity to participate in sports. They provided over $3 million worth of free sports equipment, game tickets, cash grants, and summer camps to military families across the U.S. and Canada. That's my coach. I love it.
Speaking of that, Mike Zimmer has his scholarship open for 5 more days. Maybe it's 4 now, but it's either 4 or 5. So if you want to try to get on the Mike Zimmer scholarship for their foundation, go apply for that as soon as possible. Not to take away from what happened here with the United Heroes League, but I just wanted to remind people that while it was still fresh in my head.
That's good stuff too. The United Heroes League, I looked it up online, and if it's a cause that you guys are interested in, you can make donations to them online, and I think that's a worthwhile place that if you have some extra tax money left over that you want to make a donation, there's something good to look into as well. I love how much the Vikings do for the military, men and women, and just charitable work in general. I don't know what other teams do, but the Vikings sure seem to do above and beyond what you would expect from an organization on that front. So,
they do so much for military communities, the kids' hospitals, so much for parks. I mean, there's not really one thing that some part of the Vikings, whether it's a player organization or the Vikings Foundation itself, that I can't think of any really great causes that they haven't at least reached out to or done a fundraiser for in the past, which is awesome.
Yeah, they touch the community in a lot of different ways. It's really nice to see that they do give back to the area.
I do want to jump in, though, too, and I want to I don't know if we talked about this last week, and if we did, I'm sorry, but the Minneapolis Miracle, the sideline cam, is up for a Webby Award. So if you want to go and vote on the Webby website, you can vote for the Minneapolis Miracle. They're up against a lot of really cool other social media sports sites. I believe the Philadelphia Eagles' entire social media site is up for the award, and there's just a whole bunch of really cool awards up at the Webbies. So if you want to check out, I say check it out, but we've all watched the Minneapolis Miracle probably numerous times.
I watched it last night.
And we all know the sideline cam that the Vikings had, and that's what's up for the Webby Awards. So if you want to head on over to the Webby's site and put in your vote for whoever you think deserves the award for a social media sports website, have at it, and hopefully the Vikings can pull out a win. That'd be pretty cool.
Do you know who would be a shoo-in to win a Webby? I would think Spider-Man would be pretty
Don't
good.
say Wobby. Wobby don't win Webbies, does he?
I knew you were going to say Wobby, and oh, God. Ooh. I just fell asleep when you said his name.
Oh, come on now.
Oh, hush on that.
Nope,
He's good at what he is good at.
He's
what
put in a
he
position
does.
where he can't say anything, and he does his best to dance around that. So I admire the challenge that he puts forward, but it's got to be tough.
Hey, man,
Mike
if the
Wobschall
Vikings
is dollar store brand vanilla ice cream, and it puts me to sleep, and I hate it. Give me something.
if the Vikings came a calling, I would do his job.
Oh,
for whatever they paid,
absolutely, but I would do it better than him.
Oh,
wow.
I'm going to tweet him that you said that.
There you go.
Please do. I have to go on this rant now because I'm not a hater of Mike Wobschall, the person. I'm a hater of Mike Wobschall, the Vikings employee, because there's never any flair. There's never even an attempt to maybe steer out of the lane of this is a safe answer that provides nothing. I swear he coaches Russell Wilson what to say after every interview. I'm going to have 500 words, but there's not going to be anything in there of substance.
That's Eli Manning. You just described Eli.
Yeah, a couple of those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm not a hater of Wobby the person. I just don't like any of the blandness that happens. You can ask him a question about the Vikings. Let's ask something about the draft. And like Adam pointed out the other day, he'll hit on one complete side on the right and the left and cover everything in between. And you're like, but what was your answer?
Would you be okay with the Vikings taking offensive line in the first 2 rounds? Yeah, I'd be okay with it as long as they're best available and no other players or positions of need were available. And just running down the list, it's like, I know that he can't, say things that might be. I don't even know if he has inside information to the franchise. I don't know nothing.
I don't know. Does he? Probably not. Why would he?
I don't know.
Why would Rick
Spielman
tell him anything?
When I watched him go into, that's a good point, Kyle.
Yeah.
When I watched him go into Florida when they were doing the owners meetings, they were talking about he couldn't believe that they let him in there. I was like, I wouldn't tell anyone that, Mike. Just kind of keep that silent victory to yourself.
Eric in the chat just compared Wobby to one of his college essays. So I'm assuming he must have used like double space.
My college essays, I fluffed those things up as much as possible.
We got a question from Sean in the chat. Do you guys think the Vikings will trade out, and then he named a couple players that may be available at number 30. I personally think Minnesota is going to trade out of the first round, which is a quick hit that we have coming up here in a little bit.
Yeah, right now.
Right now,
Segue.
Charlie Casserly, the former NFL GM, I believe he was with the Redskins at some point because I would see his Redskins football when
Texans, I think.
Yeah, I don't know where he was a GM. I remember seeing his Redskins football. By the way, does Charlie Casserly look like the Crypt Keeper? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No. Come on now.
I'm just kidding. I'm just hating on everybody right now.
You are.
Yeah, I am. I'm being that guy. He predicted, though, that Minnesota will trade out of the first round of this year's draft.
No? Don't do it.
Oh, Adam doesn't want us to do it. Okay.
No.
Adam's going to the draft party, right?
If I go to a draft party for the first round and they trade out, I'm going to be a very, very sad guy.
Adam, be prepared. Be prepared. Because you are going to the draft party, it is a 100% guarantee that they're trading that pick.
You know what? I'm with Adam because I'm going to go to one down here in El Paso as well. But we know Slick Rick.
Don't do it, guys.
He's not one to usually trade out of. He's one of the guys that trades into the first round. So.
And the good news is that Charlie Casserly doesn't have a great track record for success on some of his predictions, so it makes me feel a little bit better about this as well. But yeah, I don't see Minnesota trading out of the first round when they can have that fifth-year option on a player, so I don't see this as being something that happens.
Solid point.
You're right. That fifth year is a big deal. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm terrible at predicting the draft, so what do I know?
Well, we haven't seen your latest mock, Mr. West.
It's right here. Did you see that? Oh, there's my mock. Oh, well, now it's gone.
Oh, no. But the question in the chat involves a lot of really cool players. Sean Reynolds wants to know Billy Price, Will Hernandez, or Sam Hubbard at number 30. We know you have a favorite, Mr. Smith.
I have two favorites in that race only because I'm partial. The guy's been creating buzz around here in El Paso. He's going to be great. I think he's going to be gone way before 30. I'm partial to the Ohio State guys. We got a great one last year. And he would have another teammate. And we have a history of signing players from the same school who have been outstanding for us. The Kendrick and Barr combination from UCLA, Rudy and Harrison Smith from Notre Dame. And now we can have a pair of Ohio State badasses on the offensive line. So I'm okay with that.
I don't think you can go wrong with Price or Hernandez. I think Sam Hubbard's going to end up in Green Bay or somewhere.
Certainly hope not. I hope that the Packers' communication fails and they don't get to pick in the first round.
Oh,
just kidding.
That's not something that the Packers are known for, but the Vikings have been known to miss their pick a couple times.
Yeah, that's a shout out in that movie Draft Day too. I was like, oh my god, I forgot about that.
This is a little too realistic right here.
It is. So we have some former Vikings players signing with other teams, and
so many former Vikings news.
I'm gonna save Mr. Rodney Adams for last, so we can go in depth about it. Former Vikings wide receiver Charles Johnson, if you can remember, there was a lot of hope with him and Teddy Bridgewater when they were on the team. He's reunited with Teddy in New York. He's now a New York Jet, so that's pretty cool to see him get another chance.
Yeah, when Charles Johnson is healthy, he can play football. And he has a pretty wicked sneaker collection. So between those two things, it's awesome.
Yeah, he was I think my favorite play of his was not even in a regular season game. It was just a bomb against the Bengals from Teddy to Charles Johnson. And that's the year we all thought, man, Teddy's making that step. That was one of if not the key play, that or the run against San Diego. That was pretty sweet. But, yeah, that was like, oh, okay, here's a deep ball. No, but there's not going to be a question about Teddy's arm strength, and then Charles Johnson's getting open. At that time, Diggs had just came into the league, and he was proving himself. He had started, so that was great. But Charles Johnson getting another chance is really cool. He was injured last year. He was in the Carolina with the Panthers. So I'm happy to see him get another chance.
So he's getting no chance. Someone made a joke online, and I just looked it up because I was curious if it was true. The Jets have 17 receivers.
What?
Wait,
the
hold
Jets.
on. What?
No, go pull it up. Go pull up the New York Jets roster. You can't see it on my camera. They currently have 17 rosters that they're bringing into training camp.
17 roster spots on wide receivers right now.
On wide receivers.
Hold on, here we go. I'm
now.
looking at it. This is from ESPN.com.
Start reading them.
I see 3. I see Robbie Anderson, Terrell Pryor. That's a good addition. Darius Stewart. And this is from, it doesn't give a date. I can't. I don't believe that.
No, you can pull it out. You pull it up. Pull up the Jets official roster, and then you can sort it by position. There are 17 wide receivers currently on the Jets roster.
Wow.
Hold on. I'm gonna look.
Adam, remember how we always used to joke that we would just make an entire offensive line?
Yeah.
Out of. Well, hey, the Jets are doing it. Poor Teddy.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Holy crap. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You've got to be shitting me.
Oh, yeah. 17 wide receivers for the New York Jets.
Okay. These guys aren't going to stay, but that's.
It'd be amazing if like almost all of them made the 50.
Oh.
They're gonna have.
All right. Here's a bold statement / question: are the New York Jets the Cleveland Browns?
I mean, they got Terrell Pryor out there right now, so yeah.
How? How do you have that many wide receivers? We're gonna invent the very first Wildcat offense, and it's gonna be nothing but wide receivers out there. We're gonna have speed. They're gonna go the Oakland Raiders.
Look at
oh my God.
Look at the amount of running backs they have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 8 running backs.
Hey, they are dedicated to improving their offense by having so much competition.
I'm sorry, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Holy
shit.
Gosh. Imagine if the Jets draft a wide receiver at number 3 overall.
Dear God. Okay, this was incredible.
I feel so good about our roster right now.
Okay, guys, if you needed a good laugh and some reassurance that we know sort of what we're doing at the Vikings with Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer, holy shit! I'm going to put that on social media immediately. I don't think I'm going to put it on our page. This has nothing to do with the Vikings, but maybe on my personal page.
You should.
Wow. Okay, moving right along. Speaking of dumpster fires, Matt Castle is signed with the Detroit Lions, so that's cool.
Yeah, backing up Matthew Stafford.
Oh, we said this like a week ago. It's like Matt Castle's still in the league.
He's still in the league? What?
He's doing his thing.
Hey, good for you for making that money and just rotating around. And I don't know how you go from new city to new city every year, but good job on you for being a backup. I was going to say a good one, isn't it?
Finding a quality backup or at least a decent backup in today's NFL is more of a challenge than you think.
Yeah, we could do a whole segment on that, especially last year after getting so far with a backup quarterback. That's incredible.
I still laugh at the Case Keenum sign. It was like, no, he sucks. Don't sign him. And then it wasn't too much long later that everybody was like, yeah, we actually got a decent backup quarterback.
You remember that thing that I pulled up from ESPN and they were building the perfect roster based on a salary cap? It was, Tom Brady was the starter, and then Case Keenum was your quarterback 3, and they said with the value of what he brings. And then I find it super ironic that it was based off a salary because he was making like 1.94 million, something like that with the ESPN one, and ironically enough, made like $2 million with us last year.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
Not too shabby.
Oh, God, I remember having so much faith in this guy when I saw him play, and I regret ever saying that he was good. A former Vikings quarterback, Joe Webb, is signed with the Houston Texans. Now, I'm seeing a trend here with Joe Webb. Anytime there's an athletic quarterback on a team, he is usually the backup because he's a very good athlete.
So you bring him in and make him a pocket passer, right?
Yeah, and you start him in a playoff game.
Bill Musgrave.
We're going to turn Joe Webb, like Cam Newton, into Sam Bradford for a playoff game. Holy crap.
Hey, he plays special teams, don't he?
Oh, yeah. He's so athletic.
He's very athletic, and he transitioned to wide receivers last year for us, so he can make plays athletically. It's just trying to find a role for him, kind of like the Cordero Patterson experiment. So, I don't know. I had a really messed up joke about one of our favorite former Viking players, if you guys would like to hear that one, since we have nothing to do with Phil the Show. So I was thinking about this with the Jets, how they have 57 wide receivers. So is it possible that the Arizona Cardinals are going to draft all offensive line to make sure that Sam Bradford doesn't die this year?
They have to. They absolutely have to.
Although being in the same division with the Rams with Sue and Donald, like he's going to die. Is he just not going to play 2 games of this season and just sit?
But the thing is that Arizona's going to be pushed. They're going to be like, okay, we know that Sam Bradford, when healthy, is cool, but we have to get a long-term answer. So they might be looking at a quarterback in the first round.
Mark my words, I'm calling it now. They're taking Lamar Jackson from Louisville. It's happening.
So that moves, more offensive linemen down the draft, which makes more available for Minnesota, but also leaves Arizona. I don't know.
At the rate Sam Bradford's been playing, you guys know I'm a huge fan of this guy. If at the rate this is going, he plays the season, he doesn't play. So he's going to kill it in Arizona for this year, and hopefully whoever they draft can sit the whole season behind him, learn and take notes and all that, and then they'll be great. But I don't know. I thought about that earlier today. I was like, oh my God, he's got to play Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald twice a year. I would just not play that game. I would tell the coach about, look, I don't know if I'm going to step. I don't know if we're gonna let the other guy get some reps.
Eric Spencer, I can believe that Matt Castle's still in the league, but Joe Webb, seriously? Wow.
Joe Webb's still around. He got beat out in Carolina by Derek Anderson, and he was
former Pro Bowl quarterback Derek Anderson.
Hell yeah.
With we talked about the Browns out.
Well, I think it's that time, guys. We're going to roll into our main topic. If you guys have been following along, we have been doing week by week our top 10 favorite Vikings.
Did you mention Rodney Adams?
Oh,
no, you skipped over that.
I skipped it. Let me get into this. I actually have something from where is it at? It looks like something from the same format as you guys use on the Viking Age, so I'm sure it's something from Fansided. Same kind of layout for the page, but former Vikings wide receiver who signed a potential deal with the Colts in the offseason has mysteriously retired after one season. And the ironic part is he didn't play at all last year. I think he started or was dressed for a game, but he didn't play last year. He went to the University of South Florida, and I've got his stats here. He's second in all-time career receiving yards, 1967, second all-time career receptions with 135, fourth all-time in career all-purpose yards, 3,459 at the University of South Florida. So, wow. He was a fifth-round pick last year, 170th overall. He didn't see game action. He was waived and sent to the practice squad, if you guys remember, in week 8. So, I don't know. And he just signed a future deal with the Colts, I think, earlier in the year, like January, February. So,
yeah.
I have no idea. But he was a monster at his college days. Senior season, he had a USF record, 67 receptions, tied his own single-season record, 822 for receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. So,
the fifth-round pick is pretty high too.
It really is.
Yeah, I thought we pretty much nailed those fifth-round picks, especially on receivers. But I don't know.
I don't get it. I wonder what happened. Like, what would make a player retire after
I don't
season?
Because I do have him on social media, and I'm not saying that like I'm best friends with the guy and we talk all the time, but he was very adamant about social media. He had a YouTube channel, which was really dope. I really enjoyed that.
He's an entertaining watch.
Yeah, he took you through pretty much the nuances of day-to-day NFL life. He's like, all right, cool. He was doing vlogs, the video blogs, if you guys don't know what that is, and he'll go through his daily life of being a wide receiver in the NFL and talking about workouts, some of the stuff that he does in his off time. Mm-hmm. I found it very, very interesting in a way to connect with a younger group of people. I know he's very into fashion. He was a model or stuff like that. I don't know if he's going to pursue that, but I will absolutely, if we hear some more about this, throw this in as a quick hit later because this is really mysterious to me. And I'm sure as well for the other guys on the show because he had promise. I think he just had to buy his time. Maybe he could get into that wide receiver number 4 or 5 spot on a team, but I don't know. This is weird.
Yeah, it was news that I was not expecting to hear because he actually showed some pretty good flashes, especially as a return man for a little while, I believe.
Yep.
But like I said, the NFL is a place where you have to be, healthy and passionate. And if you either don't have the love for the game anymore or can't play the game anymore, there's just not much you can really do. And I don't know what happened with him. I'm not going to pretend to know. But it does kind of shock me when I saw that my coworker there on the Viking Age, Adam Patrick, wrote that he had retired. It caught me out of nowhere, and I was just shocked because I was expecting him to get a shot with the Broncos.
I think it was the Colts.
Colts, yeah, sorry. Wrong horses.
You had Peyton Manning on the brain. That's what it was.
No, I had the wrong horse. It happens.
No, It's really weird, but you know what? I commend him for making that choice, and maybe he'll come back later. Maybe he's just taking a year off. We don't know any details. And that article that I just read was from the University of South Florida's page. I think you can find it through Fansided. There's no information anywhere. I clicked on Sports Illustrated, read the piece that Adam Patrick wrote on the Viking Age, just read this page I was telling you about. But I commend him for taking a chance to say, you know what? I don't want to play football right now, because a lot of guys will do it just for the money. And that's usually, honestly, I would say that's when most of the injuries happen, when you're not fully committed to it, because you don't take it seriously as a craft. We already know that NFL careers don't last that long on an average basis. So to have the maturity enough to say, you know what, I just don't want to do this. Like, my hat's off to you, man. Wish you the best of luck in whatever you do.
Absolutely.
I wish he could have figured that out before Minnesota drafted him in the 5th round. I mean,
Minnesota has you can gamble a couple draft picks here and there, so I don't blame him one bit at all there, especially 5th rounder. But it would have been cool to see what he could do if he was able to apply himself in Minnesota and be healthy. But
I get it. I mean, no hard feelings towards him, honestly. I was just a really big fan of his from watching his tape. I thought that he had a lot of potential to do good things in the NFL. And but you know what, man? More power to him. If he's got priorities elsewhere, he should definitely pursue that. If that's.
And let's be honest, in Minnesota right now, he would not have gotten a very good shot. The Vikings have a pretty talented group of wide receivers right now. They got that number 5 spot kind of up for grabs, but I believe that's going to be a major fight, and there's going to be a lot of bodies fighting for it. So
the guy last year that was between pretty much him and Rodney Adams last year.
Stacey Coley.
Stacey Coley. What happened to him? Did we still have him? Is he on the roster?
Yeah, he's still around.
I think he could take up that last spot. And it was no shot against Rodney Adams, but I think he got beat out by Stacey Coley.
I think so too.
And not only that, he didn't have nobody's going to get a lot of time, and especially not now when you've got Diggs, Thielen, and now the Bears' leading receiver is going to be our number 3. So,
and they're not going to throw Treadwell to the wayside already.
No, not yet.
Didn't we keep both Adams and Stacey Cooley on the roster for a little bit last year?
Sure did.
Yeah, that was until I can't even think of his name. Mike Wallace? No. Who came back? Who had the 4-game suspension last year, guys?
Oh, Michael Floyd.
Michael Floyd, correct. Yep. When Michael Floyd came back, then that's when we cut Rodney Adams, and he went to the practice squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, it was weird. Like I said, probably wouldn't see a lot of time, but we won't beat this dead horse too long. Just, hey, good luck, Rodney.
It surprised me. Best of luck to him in the future.
Interesting person. We'll let you know when we figure out exactly why he was he was deciding to hang it up. But sorry, I skipped over that, guys. I saved it for later and I forgot about it. But like I was saying before, our main topic this week, not a lot of news. We're going to go into our top 10. We're already at number 4 for top Viking of all time. And last week we were talking about it too. We're going to end our top 10 countdown with episode 300, which we promise you guys we didn't schedule that out. It just happened to fall that way.
No, we totally did.
That's pretty cool.
That was the plan the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we totally had that one in the bag. I'm going to kick it off, and I'm going to go ahead and go defense again. My number 4 Minnesota Viking of all time is Alan Page.
Oh.
Defensive tackle. 15 seasons, 238 straight games, 6 all-NFL selections, 9 straight Pro Bowls.
Is it weird that I'm shocked he's that low on your list?
No. And, I mean, I'm not going to do the spoiler or anything, but you also had – you're not as partial to Fran Tarkenton as I think me or Kyle would be. So
no, he was my number 5.
Yeah, well, he'll be up there for my list somewhere coming up in the next couple of weeks.
And on a lot of lists, he's number 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, on my list, Fran was a little lower than other people would have had him. But like we say before, this is all personal preference as well as, what we value as far as statistics and player leadership and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I am surprised that Page is 4 on your list, but, I'm excited to see who your top 3 are in what order.
Same. And I think going back to what I was saying before, before some of my defensive players that I had on my list here, man, this was before, I believe, because he's 1967 all the way through 1981, 67 to 78, he was with the Vikings. Then he went to the Bears for 3 years. 173 sacks.
I do have to ask, though, your top 3 are all offense, aren't they?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay. I feel a little bit better now.
It's funny.
You will like next week, Adam. I will give you a hint there, and you can kind of pick it up from there. You will like my next week.
Mick Tinglehoff?
He was already on my list, sir.
Oh, was he already?
He was number 8 on my list, but yeah, we're heading in that direction again. Pretty exciting.
It's funny. We don't plan this. Obviously, we didn't plan out our top 10 list. I was wondering if any of us would ever have the same player in the same position. And guess who I had at number 4? Alan Page.
You guys, I tell you.
It's the Kyle syndrome, man.
And I bet you your top 3 players are all offense too, aren't they?
I am not ready to divulge that information.
That's a yes.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Hey, you know what though? To be fair, number 4 on the
without a doubt
of all time of players who have played for the Minnesota Vikings is pretty fucking high.
I agree.
Not only that, I had to put my bias aside for John Randall. He was the last one on my list. There is no player that I've ever loved that much. And growing up and getting even more involved in the Vikings the last 10 years of my life, man, it was hard for me not to move him up closer. But
we didn't even mention Alan Page served on the Minnesota Supreme Court for a number of years.
That's the reason why he's so high to be my highest defensive player. He's just a model human being.
He went to school while he was playing football. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I've got him here since me and Kyle can kind of tag team. I'm on the Pro Football Hall of Fame website and said a quote from his bio says, "I've got a job to do, and my job is to not sit back and wait and react to what the offense does. My job is to go after them. This has been my philosophy. A defensive player should think of himself as an aggressor, not a defender."
Then you look at some of his career highlights here. The Vikings retired number 88. He's in the Vikings Ring of Honor. He is a 9-time Pro Bowl player, a 6-time first-team All-Pro, a 3-time selection, second-team NFL All-Pro, NFL Most Valuable Player for 1971, 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 71 and 73, NFC Player of the Year in 1971, 2-time NFC Defensive Player of the Year, NFL Champion in 1969, 1970 NFL All-Decade Team, a 2-time National Champion in 64 and 66, and a consensus All-American, I don't even know what that means, in 1966. That's a hell of a career.
Oh, yeah, his resume, there's not anything lacking.
It's crazy.
And he's still very active in the community, pushing for human rights, which is amazing.
Yeah, he's a model human being. That's my favorite thing about him. Like you guys mentioned earlier, too, working his way up to the freaking Supreme Court. Like, you were a monster on the football field, and now you're a model citizen for, an example for everyone around you. And like Adam was saying, I didn't know that he was pushing for all you said human rights?
Yeah, that is something that he is very passionate about. He and a couple other former Vikings recently went to a high school to speak with students about furthering their education and not giving in to peer pressure or feeling frustrated with high school, feeling like you're spinning your tires. And it was really cool to see this from him. So it's all... Oh, I believe he published a book recently, too. A kid's book about his pinky, right?
Yeah, he did. That's right. Yep.
Because if you haven't seen his pinky, it definitely is not straight.
Oh, wow. I'm looking at it now. All Rise. Remarkable Journey of Alan Page. That's one. Let's look for this. Wow. Okay, there's a picture of his pinky that I totally spaced out on. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty out there for Alan Page. If fans really loved what he brought to the Vikings, he's still just being a fantastic guy and doing what he can for the community, as well as, not giving up on his football fans still. I have nothing but positive things to say about him.
There's also the Page Education Foundation, which provides educational grants to students of color throughout Minnesota, helping them realize their potential and value through education. So, like you said, you could literally talk about his accolades for the next hour.
Oh, yeah, we could do a series of podcast episodes on Alan Page.
Yeah, and you'd end up glossing over stuff. He's done that much.
Absolutely.
Well, that's crazy. I didn't think any of us would line up. I figured we'd hear the same names, in different spots every week.
Different spots, yeah.
That's true.
I'm excited to hear who Adam has at number 4.
Well, my personal bias wanted to place him higher, but I couldn't because they're 3 players that I think were, a little bit more on the aggressive side, or each had their accomplishments in different ways, and I didn't want my personal bias to put him up way too high. So my number 4 is Paul Krause. And I know you guys had him lower around, what was it, 7 or 8 for each of you?
I had him number 7 on my list.
But Paul Krause, there's not really enough you can say about how much of a ball-hawking safety he was at a time when the NFL wasn't a passing league. His ability to sniff out the ball was amazing. And his stats as far as the number of interceptions that he's had over his career, the fire that he brought to the field every time he was on it, taking role as a leader in the defense. It's just amazing everything that he brought to the football team. And of course, as I said, there is that personal bias because I've gotten to meet him, I've gotten to interact with him, and he has just seemed like a fantastic guy to go on top of all of these football accolades. So it might be a little biased for me to have him at number 4, but that's where I got him.
I love it.
Good choice.
I'm still pumped that you got to meet him, man. We're a pretty tight knit group here at the Pro People Podcast. I mentioned it before. I'll always say thank you, Adam. I'm thinking of Alan Page. Adam got us some pictures autographed because he's in the Minnesota area, but living vicariously through him because he's taking advantage of all these opportunities to go meet players. So I understand, man. I totally understand how you wanted to try to keep it balanced here, because I felt the same way for John Randall.
It's hard, isn't it? I mean, you want that personal bias, like the players that you're big fans of. Like for a while, I even thought I kind of got to put Dante Culpepper on this top 10 just because I, watched him and loved so much of everything watching him. Mm-hmm. And the more I looked up and down the historical roster of the Vikings, I'm like, I can't, even though I'd love to.
I know the Vikings have such a deep roster of extremely talented historical players, like you said, Adam, that it gets difficult that you want to put players like Dante was my quarterback.
Absolutely.
When I was a kid watching this team. So of course I want to throw Dante out there. I think he's awesome, but you just can't do it.
No. Yeah, as much as you want to, you just can't.
I do love this. I love that we put this together, and it's going to be fun coming around. I can kind of guess where this is going to go, especially for me and Kyle, but I'm pretty excited for next week. Adam, I hope you can make it. I think as long as you don't have anything planned, but Adam's going to like my next week's selection for sure. Pretty excited about it.
I like the sound of that, and I think that my number 3 might catch some people off guard as well. So I'm excited to see what you guys have planned and how things pan out in the top 3 Vikings of all time.
I want to go backtrack on something because I want to get people's opinion in the chat, and I want to hear what everybody has to say. Like we talked about earlier, switching back to the draft, because we're going to hit that hard. Up to the draft, we're going to make predictions, and then we're going to talk about these selections after the weekend is over the following week. Every selection will go in depth. That'll be a lengthy show. We were talking about going back and trading back and acquiring picks, but based on the history of Rick Spielman, trading in and getting multiple players multiple times, I don't think that's going to happen. Is there a player that you guys could see us jumping up in the middle of the first round that we would need, that we would want? Or do you guys feel comfortable with sitting at 30 and just letting the best player fall to us? I think we're pretty good on waiting, because I think this might be, and I know that this gets said every year by analysts and former players, but I think this draft might be the most exciting and most head-scratching draft that we've seen in decades.
There's one player that I would want the Vikings to jump up and get if they can. And that's only if he starts sliding, but he will not. Offensive linemen, there aren't very many offensive linemen that look like generational talents. But I do believe that Quentin Nelson is going to be an absolute stud at the NFL level. I don't think he gets past pick 8 in the draft, but if for some reason he starts sliding, Minnesota's got to start looking at what they can do to trade up to get him.
There's a lot of talk about him going to the Bears, and I don't want that to happen.
He is solid as a rock.
Yeah, I can't think of any player of need. We've locked up the quarterback position, which we could talk a whole 20 minutes on that. It's just, it's weird. We're always like, well, we can maybe look at a quarterback. Like that's not a question for the next 3 years.
I mean, there's other names that you'd see the Vikings want to move up for. Like Derwin James would be an amazing fit in the Vikings defense. But realistically, I don't think there's going to be any way to move up to get him.
I'm thinking of emphasis of need. We're in such a good spot that, this comes back full circle to the Kirk Cousins edition. Sheldon Richardson signings going under the table and radar way too much. And I love it because, the less that we talk about it, I feel the better we do in situations like that instead of the big hype. But all the roster completely over as far as the starters go. It's pretty damn solid. And it's going to leave that Super Bowl or bust mindset in your mind, which I hate having to do. But that's kind of where we're at because the only place we could do better than we did last year is the Super Bowl. But I can't think of anyone, like, oh, well, I don't know. Maybe we should go get a running back in the first round. Got him. Wide receiver, we're set. Tight end has been something that we've been talking about, but I don't think that we're going to get one in the first round, even though it's kind of crept up in maybe the second or the third. I can't see us doing anything other than maybe – like we mentioned earlier, offensive line, if there's a really stud corner that falls, or maybe a D lineman that we just absolutely can't pass on. But I don't see us going anywhere else with that, man. It's really weird.
No, I can see there being, like I said, the players that the Vikings are going to want to trade up for. Like the cornerback Alexander out of Louisville. I think he'd be a great nickel corner. And I can see the Vikings wanting to move him and get him. But we do have, in the chat – who was it here that said that they don't? Oh, yeah, Eric Spencer says we won't jump up, especially since the team only has 8 picks. That's true, and 2 of them are 6th rounders. And, I don't think they really have the necessary ammunition to move up to one of the top picks. So I don't think it's going to happen. But I do see the Vikings really wanting to take a look at an offensive lineman or a cornerback with those first picks. And I recently wrote an article over on the Viking Age that I know Mr. Smith probably liked about how tight end is definitely not a need and it would be a luxury pick if the Vikings went that way.
Yeah, I was pretty happy to read that and see it. It's
once you look at the snap counts and what they do, it kind of gets explained a little bit better how the Vikings were using these tight ends. It's going to be strange under a new offensive coordinator to see how that works. But I do think that we are going to see more of David Morgan under this new offensive coordinator. So I don't really want to see a change up at tight end, but I do understand why fans are so excited about these receiving tight ends. I get it. I
personally don't think we will see that large of a change on the offense. I think the Vikings had a pretty good template for what worked last year for us. And so now we're...
You mean aside from the offensive line, right?
Yeah. And I mean, so it's like you're going to bring in Kirk Cousins, you're going to play to his strengths, obviously. But I mean, you have the general template for what worked for this team last year. So add to it. I don't think this is going to be a whole throw everything out and we're just going to redo the whole offense and start from scratch kind of season for the Vikings.
Now, when you've got Cousins and then you've got Cook and Murray, then you've got one of the best receiving duos in the league. You've got one of the top receiving tight ends on the team already. You've got one of the top blocking tight ends on the team. That is a sneaky good receiver. At the talent positions or skill positions, as some people like to call them, I don't see the Vikings making a lot of moves there. I do. I hate the skill position thing. I really do.
Yeah. They're all skill players, except for punters. Not so much the punter.
Wow, here it is.
We did skip the signing of the new wide receiver with the same last name as the punter.
That was last week.
Oh, we did talk about that?
Yeah, that was last week.
Ah.
I think, question mark.
Hey, I'll trust you.
Didn't we? I don't know. I really don't remember. I'm pretty sure we covered that last week.
Sounds good.
That's pretty much it. I wanted to add a little bit of fluff and filler at the end and channel my...
Yeah, fluff.
Yeah, fluff it up.
Channel my inner anti-Mike Wobshaw there to get one more jab at him. No, I'm just kidding. We love you, Wobby. If you could absolutely hook me up with a job up there, that'd be great. I promise I'll be at work on time, and I'll just say the most random hot takes ever. Yeah, we'll be like yin and yang, you know?
Why don't you ask Chris Thomason for a job, too? I'm sure that'll work well.
I would rather eat a bowl of glass than to work around Chris Thomason. And I wouldn't want Mike Zimmer to just hate me. So, yeah. But we promise you guys it'll be a little bit different coming up. Maybe next week, going into next Friday will be the 20th. Yeah, so maybe there'll be a little bit more dead space. We'll give you every little bit of Vikings news we can give you. But following that week to the draft, there's going to be a lot of talk. And I promised that I would do some player profile scouting and all that good stuff. And I'm going to get on that this coming up week. What is it, Tuesday? So next week, I'll have that for you for next week's show after this class that I have here for work is gone. So it'll be my first time ever doing it. So Adam can nitpick me and tear me apart and be like, this is awful.
Just a heads up. It is so hard to evaluate cornerbacks.
Is it? Okay.
That is the most challenging position to watch and try to see how they would fit because the college level cornerback compared to the pro level cornerback, it's not even the same game.
And you guys know my opinion if you're longtime listeners of the show. I think the cornerback position is the most difficult position in the NFL to play. I think above the quarterback. I think being a cover corner like what Xavier Rhodes does is impossible. How do you run backwards and know what spot on the field that a beast of a receiver is going to go to and stop him? How do you do that? That is some next level shit.
You've got a guy that runs faster than you. He's 4 inches taller than you. He knows where he's going. You have no idea.
You're guessing, and you're running backwards. That is
That's a very solid point because I have a very hard time running forwards at any skilled, level of running, much less backwards. So that's very good.
You look at how they do that. And that's amazing to me. If you ever get a chance to watch them in training camp, watch that drill they do where they basically
and the coaches will still always be yelling at them to get lower.
Yeah, get lower. It's amazing, dude. It
is. It's astounding. I hope that one of you guys can make it up for training camp, if not both of you.
I really want to, Adam. It might be the last year we go up to training camp, but I want to go up for sure this year and just see the new facility and stuff.
I doubt I'd ever be there for training camp, which is a bummer, but definitely for a game, that is absolutely going to happen. And
I'll be honest, I've already been looking at the schedule for this year. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of teams I've already seen the Vikings play. I've watched the Vikings play the Saints. I've watched the Vikings play the 49ers. I've watched the Vikings play the Packers. And right now I'm looking at, I want to see Arizona, Buffalo, or Miami. I'm eyeing those ones up. I think that if I go to 3 games this year, or even just 2, it's going to be some of them. Because I got a feeling that Minnesota, Miami, or Minnesota, Arizona might not be too expensive of games to get into.
Yeah, Miami's looking pretty bad, giving away every good player that they have this year. So maybe
that, and I do have to admit too that I kind of want this winning streak I'm on to continue. So I'm looking at teams that might not be as great.
That's what my friend Mike said. He was always like, "It sucks driving back from the Vikings game, especially for me when it's like a 2.5-hour drive to get back home after they lose." Where
I've never had to experience that.
You just sit in the car and you're just like pissed off the whole drive home.
Yeah, that's
anger.
I'm glad that hadn't happened to me because I went that year that we played the Panthers and we actually won. And I was going to go home last year, that would have been just my luck. One of the 3 games that we lose, I would have been in attendance for. I would have been super pissed off. But yeah, it's pretty. That's pretty good. I'll let you guys know. We'll schedule that way ahead. But yeah, if we could all go and meet up for a game, I'm sure we'd have a blast.
Oh, for sure. Without a doubt. We got some questions in the chat here. Eric Spencer wants to know if we're going to be watching the Minnesota Wild game tomorrow. And I might not watch the entire game, but I'm definitely going to be keeping tabs on it.
I'm going to have it on. I always like to watch the Wild, so yeah, it'll be on in the background.
Because the Wild are a playoff team, which is exciting. Anytime that a Minnesota team can get into the playoffs, it's a good time. Unless it's baseball, then I don't bother.
I think that the T-Wolves are going to be in there too, so not a terrible year for Minnesota sports teams. So that's pretty good.
No, but at least we're not like Philly, who might hit the Grand Slam and get championships in every major sport.
It's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be Houston. And then the Texans are going to be on the clock this year because the Rockets look like they might be winning the NBA Finals.
Ooh.
Yeah. Just a little random sports take there, but I don't want to get into basketball. Never mind. No.
I'm starting to get back into basketball. I'm starting to learn some of these new players' names because I have not paid attention since Alonzo Mourning was in a Hornets jersey.
Yeah,
it's been since Alonzo Mourning was in a Hornets jersey that I paid close attention. So I don't know much of anything at all anymore. But I do say that I miss hockey season because I know nothing about hockey, but I played fantasy hockey. And I won a pretty good amount of money playing fantasy hockey, knowing nothing.
That's
Who'd
incredible.
you pick?
Oh, I was just picking random players that looked like they were coming off a good performance and had a high point per game and a low salary. I was like, okay, let's go with that guy. No clue who they are.
Now, see, this would make me interested to watch the Timberwolves play tomorrow. They're in a win and they're in situation for the playoffs,
Yeah.
which they have not been in 13 years. That's crazy. So yeah, of course, I root for all the Minnesota sports franchises. And when it comes to playoff basketball, that's usually when I tune in. I will admit I'm only a casual fan of it. Baseball, I'm not a baseball fan, guys. I do
admit that I am considering going to that the Twins game where they're giving away the inflatable Prince guitars.
Oh,
it would be fun.
great.
Hey, wouldn't it be fun to go and get a hot dog and get some food and hang out?
Well, a Twins game, you can get a ticket for like $8.
Yeah, and
you can
I
leave.
will say from going here recently and just the average experience growing up versus watching on television, baseball games are way more fun in person.
I've gone to 2 and I was bored the entire time.
I can't do it at home. It'll put me to sleep. It's like golf. I'm sorry.
I'd rather watch golf. Maybe it's like NASCAR then. Let's say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in NASCAR country, and that shit is boring. Didn't think we were going to talk about NASCAR today, so that took a weird turn.
Every week's a good week to talk about NASCAR, right?
Oh, God, no. Kill it with fire. And on that note, thank you for tuning in.
Well, I do want to say that...
Look at this bold take in the chat from Scott Schwab.
I don't think that's that bold.
100% healthy. Sam Bradford is better than Kirk Cousins. I don't know. The Vikings fan in me can't say that because I have to support Kirk Cousins.
Bradford is amazing in the pocket when he gets time. He can do amazing things, and we saw that in week 1.
Here's the catch to that, Scott. Let's do the air quotes. In the perfect situation, I could do a lot of things, and I think Kirk Cousins landed in the most perfect situation he's ever been in. So I will give this season to judge that, and then we'll go back. And based off of what Sam Bradford did versus what Kirk Cousins does, I think he's going to surpass that. I think Kirk Cousins is going to have more than 20 touchdowns, over 4,000 yards. So we'll see. But yeah, I think when he's healthy, I agree with you. I think he's one of, if not the best, pure pocket passer in the league. He's pretty accurate.
One thing to really keep an eye on with Cousins is that in Washington, he was not surrounded by a lot of talent offensively.
Nope.
He had a really shabby offensive line. They never really brought him in extremely high caliber wide receivers. And when they did, like Josh Doxson, he ended up getting hurt and not playing very much. The run game, they had undrafted free agents running the football most of the time. It's just he was able to do things without having talent around him. And I was giving him some jabs because his stats don't quite measure up to the paycheck that he got. It'll be interesting to see what he can do with these extra pieces around him that he didn't previously have.
Also, fun fact about the Kirk Cousins deal, and I did this last night because I was just reading around about articles and I was YouTubing a lot, which is what I do in my spare time. I watch YouTube all the time. A guy that I wouldn't think, because I've seen him be kind of flashy and we know wide receivers are divas. I believe Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp asked, or no, maybe it was Chris Carter. I can't remember. He was on one of the Fox shows. I do know that. But Deshaun Jackson was on there, and he got asked the question straight up, is Kirk Cousins an elite quarterback? And he said, I think Kirk is a great quarterback. He's like, he gets a lot of hate, and I don't understand why. He's like, but I played with him, and he was great.
So not elite then?
No, I don't think he's elite either. I think there's only maybe 5 elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And I wouldn't have put Kirk in there regardless if he was in a Viking uniform. But
I don't like that. That's another. I don't like that phrase. An elite quarterback. I don't know. Who gives a shit?
There are elite quarterbacks. There are those quarterbacks that can take a poopy roster and make it good. Aaron Rodgers is on an awful Packers franchise. There's the talent around him is not good.
Yep.
But yet he can make these wide receivers that go to different teams and are just trash cans. He can make them look like stars. Tom Brady can do anything with any wide receiver.
Yep.
There are those elite quarterbacks, and there are very, very few. And for a while there were so many names getting thrown around. Matt Ryan's an elite quarterback. Well, not really. Joe Flacco's elite. No.
I'll do this to you, and you guys can say it with me because I am doing this as a joke. You can be elite all day long, but name me the 4 final quarterbacks that were playing last year. 3 of them were not elite.
It's true.
So I don't think you necessarily have to be an elite. Would we love to have an Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady in Minnesota? Yes. Does that necessarily mean that it's going to work for the whole team? Like Adam mentioned, the Packers are a dumpster fire outside of Aaron Rodgers, and we saw that last year because they won 6 games?
Yeah, it was not pretty.
That's terrible.
Just think the Vikings passed on Aaron Rodgers twice in 2005.
Yeah. There were a lot of teams passing on Aaron Rodgers, though.
Yeah.
And the 49ers grabbed Alex Smith, who turned out to be pretty decent after he got out of the 49ers uniform. And,
oh, God. Replacing Kirk Cousins, and that's how we tie it all together in the show.
Yeah. Yep, it all comes full circle.
And it's a good thing, too, because my dog just came back, and it's going to end the show in his favorite spot, so he's alive and well for you guys that always ask.
Now, I do want to promote something for my websites. We've got Undead Walking. You got to check it out if you're a fan of The Walking Dead, because we've got the Season 8 finale of The Walking Dead coming up. We have the Season 4 premiere of Fear the Walking Dead. And I have had the opportunity to watch the first 2 episodes from Season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead, and they are amazing. Even if you don't watch Fear the Walking Dead on a usual basis and you're a fan of The Walking Dead, you gave up on Fear a while ago or never really gave it a shot, it's on right after the Season 8 finale of The Walking Dead. Tune in. You don't have to know what's going on the show to enjoy the episode. When I watched it, I was really surprised at the path they took because it made it so accessible to so many fans. So please check it out. Come on over to Undead Walking when you're done if you feel like it, and check out some of our opinions, ideas on the show, what we feel about how the show is going, and especially to get some analysis on the Season 8 finale where All Out War might be coming to an end.
Get all the takes here at Purple Fuel Podcast.
That's true.
Football. More than just football.
Absolutely. And we got the Viking Age, which I know that if you're here, you probably have at least heard of, which is nice. You can download the apps for both the Viking Age and Undead Walking. At whatever app store you use, it's there. And there's a lot of great information there, a lot of fun opinions. And as I said before on previous shows, I'm trying to get a little bit more opinionated than newsy in my pieces. So you're going to get a little bit more of my my attitude and takes coming through, which is going to be a lot more fun, I think.
I am currently using the BlackBerry store, Adam. Is it available on the BlackBerry store?
I don't know. Is that store still up and running?
That was the joke.
Is it? I don't know.
I have no idea. I really don't.
It's amazing though how big BlackBerry was.
And then is not.
Yeah. That's fads though for you. You can read all about it on my MySpace post.
By the way, can I do that for the last part of the show? I don't know why we were so bad to Tom and MySpace, because you get to force not only your musical preferences on people, I like the layout as well, but you also got to tell everyone who your clique was with your top 8. We should definitely have treated Tom and MySpace better. It was a good thing.
Yeah, we had a good thing
going.
Had
Tom as my number 1 so that people wouldn't be mad when other people weren't.
That's a very smart one. That's very smart.
Do you think MySpace would steal your data like what Facebook does? Probably not.
Oh, MySpace... yeah. Well, if you're the idiot that's going to all these, what would I look like as a guy or girl, or, these things that where you got to click saying, okay, yeah, you can have my information.
Yeah, no, thank you.
It's like you deserve it.
Very true.
Yeah. I cannot argue.
But poor Aunt Linda wanted to see what she looked like if she was a dude.
Poor racist Aunt Linda.
Oh, Linda.
Linda's definitely racist. Right is.
But that's all I have for this week. You guys got anything else you want to close on?
We just lost a follower named Linda. Just fuck you guys.
Yep. Linda's like, no.
My band and I recorded the song "Through the Never" from Metallica last night at a friend's house. Actually laid it down, and we're gonna get the mix back this week. So Disposable Ink is definitely gonna be playing. We actually might be playing next Friday, our first show with me singing in the lineup. Like I said before, we'll be playing the Black Album in its entirety from start to finish. Definitely, if we do play next week, it'll only be the Black Album. I'll be learning some others: Creeping Death, Disposable Heroes, Damage Inc., and Moth in the Flame. On
your Facebook page, I think I saw some guitar action on there. Am I wrong?
It was my Snapchat, yeah. And last night it was my buddy Aaron. I call him Cousin Smith because that's his last name. Laying down some guitar tracks last night before I came in to sing. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. Like I said, if you're in the El Paso area and you want to hear a Metallica tribute band, we're pretty damn good. All my guys are excellent players. They're very technical, and I like to get in there and do my best James Hetfield impersonation for about an hour and a half. So,
I like admitting when I'm kind of stupid on things. So I was sitting there, and I was talking to my buddy Clint about football, and we were talking about Will Hernandez, and I said he's a really good road grading lineman. He said, "What college did he go to?" I said, "El Paso." He said, "Didn't he play for UTEP?" And it took me a second. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yep.
El Paso and UTEP are the same thing.
That's it. Just like it's like, I played for San Antonio. It's UTSA. It's UTEP. Texas is big, man. They have Texas colleges everywhere and just little branches. But yeah, UTEP's pretty cool. I'm like 15 minutes from there. Drive by it every day.
I mean, those are some of those things that I hate admitting, like watching the entire first movie in the Ted 1 with the talking teddy bear.
Yeah.
And not understanding why that bear was named Ted.
Okay.
It took me probably 3 years on that one.
Yep. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's stupid things like that where it's so obvious, but then later on it's just kind of like, oh yeah. Yeah.
I hate that I missed out on it.
Oh, there's more like that too that I've got. I've definitely got my blondish red moments, so it happens to the best of us. Mr. West, you got anything you want to plug before we go?
Yeah, I think we're going to start an official Purple People Podcast MySpace page. That seems to be the thing to do. So look for that.
I'll look for you to manage that.
Yeah, it'll manage itself because no one will use it. That will be the beauty of it.
Someone will throw some sheep at you and you'll be good to go.
Sure, why not? You can check my work out at attackoftheblog.net. I have all kinds of fun articles and pieces that I will be adding to that. And check me out on Twitter if you're interested in some of my photography or, whatever else it is I do with my free time. I don't know.
Your Shut Up I Like This has been doing some giveaways, I believe, right?
Yes, we do giveaways about once a month. Scott says you can use Facebook or Twitter to sign into MySpace.
Wow.
Holy crap. Yeah, Shut Up, I Like This, the movie podcast that I help out with my friend Jeffrey. We've been doing giveaways, all kinds of fun stuff. He goes above and beyond on the stuff that he gives away. T-shirts and digital movie codes and coffee mugs with Marvel characters on them, all kinds of fun stuff that he gives out. So if you're interested in such things, you can check us out at Shut Up I Like This. The links are down below in the description of this here YouTube video.
Yeah, that's a much more professional one than this. They've got like a cool room with that egg stuff on the wall where you can hear stuff and a green screen and great sound. And
he's a little bit younger than we are, and he comes from that generation that's grown up with YouTube, and he's just right away gravitated towards, we have to do green screen and effects and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I just talk into a microphone.
I got a Vikings flag behind me. That's as far as I go.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith has his dog. You've got a cool chair.
Sure, why not? It was an expensive chair.
You're like Borat. You're the king of the castle. You've got a chair.
That's right.
Yeah.
And your awesome Adrian Peterson artwork.
Over there. There, I can't point. Over there.
All right. On that note, I do want to say thank you for everyone who joined us in the chat. Yang Yaj, we got Scott Schwab in here, Eric Spencer, Hobnow. Everybody that joined us here in the chat, it's so awesome to have you guys here.
You going to give a shout out to the TSA agent for feeling your butthole?
He got pretty up and personal with me in Chicago, which it's been a little while since I've gotten some action. So
you got the full Adam Carlson experience.
It was a little nice that someone was willing to put their hands around there.
We went the extra mile.
Mr. Smith, did you check and see if we're up on that other platform now?
Oh my gosh, I'm totally spacing. I don't remember what you're talking about.
With our upgrade, it said that we were going to be on, I believe it was Spotify now, and you said you were going to give it a check.
Oh, I checked last week and it was not on there. I'll check my phone right now. So I have the Spotify app, which is crazy because I actually heard a commercial about all this stuff. You can actually listen to podcasts on Spotify. I'm an Apple guy, so I just use the podcasts app, which we're definitely on there if you guys want to check us out.
Oh, yeah. And if you could, we would love it if you give us some reviews, whether it's on Facebook, especially on iTunes if you can. Google Podcasts, give us a review over there. Here on YouTube, if you could subscribe, that'd be cool. If you want to hit the bell for notifications for when we go live, that's awesome too. And every comment that you make helps us to be shown in the recommended for Vikings fans, which is cool as well. All that stuff, we appreciate all of it.
I just checked, and unfortunately, no, it's not on there.
Well, looks like I'm going to have a little bit of work to do.
Gimmick infringement. There's already a Purple People podcast.
For it, and one was just Purple People Podcast, and then the other was the Purple People Podcast, and neither one came up for the Spotify app. So,
guys, I found gimmick infringement on MySpace. There's already a Purple People Podcast from Indianapolis with 34 people that like their page. So I'm declaring an all-out war on Indianapolis Purple People Podcast.
Wait a minute, are we giving up on Jacksonville then? Do we no longer hate Jacksonville?
Well, they're kind of good now, so we have to pick on a team that sucks. And yeah, Indy kind of sucks right now. So yeah, we'll pick on them.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, once again, thank you, everyone, for joining us. And before we go into talking too much more about MySpace and Spotify and whatnot, we should probably end this show that was supposed to be short. So once again, we'll see you back next week, and stay classy, Minnesota.